So hello everybody. Today I am going to be doing a portrait of Rachel, of Recovery by Rachel, who also just came out with a book, Jesus Unplugged, which I read and I enjoyed. Yeah, and we're just going to chat and we're going to talk and we're going to talk about a book and talk about Jesus probably. I can't see us not talking about Jesus, seeing as her book is titled Jesus Unplugged. And yeah, I'm going to be doing her portrait because that's what I do. And that's how I connect with folks. And yeah, I really enjoy doing portraits, been doing them for a long, long time. And yeah, I'm excited about this. It's great for me to be able to do my portraits, and I'm gonna get the opportunity to record it, and we'll see, how all of the conversation goes, and then we'll end up editing this down to something, maybe 10-15 minutes of our conversation, and see where that goes, where that leads us. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope, like, this isn't something that we're doing live because we think it's going to be super interesting, but I think it's important for it to be out there. I think the experience is important to get out, and so yeah, I'm not monitoring anything. So if you guys ask questions or whatnot, please feel free to reach out to me on my website, martinjon, martinjon.com. And yeah, and reach out and or you can find me at Martin John on Instagram or Twitter or other things like that. I don't check Twitter very often, so so your best bet is to try Instagram. I haven't been contacted on Twitter in a long time, or I may have been, but I just don't know it. So I host the Recover Yourself podcast, and if you're watching on YouTube, the three of you that listen or watch my podcast, maybe you know that. And Recover Yourself it's a big idea that still I haven't reached the tip of. It's something that I continue to explore and to reach out and try and figure out. Talking with people that have long-term recovery, talking with people that know the next steps of recovery, which is really recovering yourself, recovering and like who you truly are, right? And I believe that we truly are God. Just getting my paper to do the portrait. This was my last portrait I did. I'm sending this out. Still haven't sent it out. It's been a week. A lot going on in the world. If you are watching this, the coronavirus is doing some stuff in the area, and I don't know. It doesn't stop me from putting a piece of paper in an envelope, but it has. So there it is. Yeah, lots going on in the world today. And hopefully Rachel and I will discuss some of that. Rachel and I, I interviewed her for the Recover Yourself podcast, and that was a beautiful interview if you got to listen to it. So today, in about 4 minutes, she'll be coming on, and we'll start a conversation, and that conversation should be good. She and I speak well, and our conversations are very much in line. So, oh man, it's been a long morning. I wake up at 4 a.m. So I've been up for 10 hours. It's 2 here. 10? I don't know. Yeah. 9. I woke up. I got up at 4:15 today, and I did lay there for a little bit, but I got up rather quickly after that. Did my morning routine, which is journaling and exercising, a little Spanish lesson and some work. So it's been a long morning for me. I didn't go out today. Again, quarantined. I have enough food and what have you in the house, which after my portrait with Rachel, I will move into eating dinner probably because, like food is a big part of my life. Not that I spend a lot of time eating it, but I got diagnosed with MS. That changed my diet. Of all things, it changed my diet rather extensively. And now my diet's all about, okay, the goal of my diet is to eat things that are nutrient dense. So nutrient density means you have a couple things to consider in terms of nutrient density. How much space does it take up in your body? Because if it takes up a lot of space, it has to have a lot of nutrients involved. How many calories does it have? And how much nutrients are in it, right? So like all of these are balanced out. And if you look at some things, you'll quickly notice, oh wait, that's going to take up a lot of space, not have a lot of calories, and not have a lot of nutrients, i.e. breads, sugars, things like that. Well, sugars will have a lot of calories, but not a lot of nutrients. So when you can really balance these out, like greens, I eat a lot of greens. They take up a lot of space, which is good. They have a lot of nutrient density, which is good. And they don't have a lot of calories because you can only take in so much space. You can only take in so many calories. Of course, when you're eating sugar, you can take in a lot more because, sugar is delicious. Man, I hope I do a good portrait today. We're going to sit quietly for a second. Sitting quietly, waiting for Rachel. I'm going to do a good portrait today. It's going to be nice. I enjoy doing these. As soon as Rachel comes on, I will not be yawning so much, I'm sure. So I recently logged into the seller center of Amazon, and I'm very confused, and I think that's why I'm a little tired, because my brain really kind of went haywire once I logged in and I realized all the things that are there, and it's just a learning curve. So we're at the beginning of it, and it'll be difficult for a week or so, but after a week, I'm sure I'll get it. But I'll be doing Amazon, Jet, and eBay, and trying to get into Walmart stores as well with RK Beverages, which is a company that produces alcohol-free spirits, vodka, brandy, whiskeys, I know that's rude. I should cover my mouth, but nobody's here, so that's I forget how polite I need to be. So Rachel's not on, but I believe it's noon where she is now. So let me check my phone. Rachel?
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. Look at you. Well, I like your pink top. That really makes your hair bounce, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's it's springtime here, and I was like, I need to wear something like a happy color too, because everyone's we need to bring like happiness and vibrancy inside when we're stuck inside, right?
Yeah, yesterday I had turquoise on. Today, black.
Very
just,
nice.
just
Very nice.
I don't choose my tops really. I what ends up happening to me is I just fold them and then I just take the top one
Oh, you
and
do?
there's there are times where I'll have something to do that day. And when I do something, like I'll be like, oh, this isn't the right shirt for today, right? But that's maybe once every 2 cycles. So I don't choose really.
That makes it easy.
It makes it easy. Yeah. And
Yeah. I think because of I've always loved fashion and being a former model, it's all about like the outfit and the not, not always, but it's in my blood. I've always been like
right,
that.
like think about it, right?
Yeah. Think about it. Like even as a little kid, being stuck inside in Canada in the winters on end for months on end. And oh, are you there?
I lost you. I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
I don't see your. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, that's good. That's never happened to me before.
No.
So,
I used to do it for fun, like as a pastime, as entertainment. I would do my hair and my makeup and play with my clothes because it was a form of like dressing up in your own closet kind of thing,
right.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Jesus.
Okay.
I
Is this
don't
live or is it recorded?
coming to me like, oh yeah, you wrote this book. It's out. How's it going? What's the haps on all of that?
Well, it's exciting because it's sort of like take two, because
Yeah.
the book actually launched the week before, I think maybe 4 days before coronavirus kind of exploded and imploded at the same time. So, of course, I was going through my human frustration with that and then realizing, it's actually divine timing. Here, I'll show you see, look.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I know. I saw them come in for you
Yeah. So,
on your post. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm sort of going through literally like a take two, a second round of okay, trusting having a lot of faith, of course, around all of it, and trusting that there's a divine timing and the divine timing of the message of the book during this time. So, putting marketing hat on, I'm going to uh make sure that I use this time as a platform to push the book further out to those who it might resonate with, because I can imagine, a lot of people are questioning their faith, or if they don't have a faith, they're sort of kind of going WTH right now with all this going on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm actually working on a lot of the my new Instagram account for it. Like I'm rebranding color wise and doing this really fun course right now to take care of that. But the message in the book was, having reflected back on it now with what we're going through right now, there's definitely sprinklings and innuendos of what we're all experiencing now in the book. And you've read the book. I'm sure you can
Yeah.
reflect on it now. They're sort of like there's a really deep call to action of now is the time for us to all stand up in our lights, and whatever that means for people. Jesus Unplugged being an option, right? Another path for people who necessarily don't have religion, or they don't want religion, or they're not interested. It's it's a good alternative, right? It's an alternative way. It's an alternative thing, an alternative path, an alternative option for people, which is exciting. And I'm excited to share it and hope that, it's half memoir, half spiritual teaching. So the idea is that my story can help people. They'll connect, with my story. There'll be a resonance of having recovered from a lot of trauma and
So
abuse.
many things.
So many things. Yeah. My survival rate is really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking about that the other day. I was reading through some of my notes and actually wrote that down. My survival rate has been really high through all the things I've had to go through. And of course, now I personally would like to get my thriving rate even higher, which I believe,
Right.
which I believe I can do with the help of my higher power, and I believe that we all can do. So it's a, you know, it's a bittersweet time, right? It's a tumultuous time for people. It's a very sad time. It's a dark time, it's a heavy time, but I feel like there's a lot of light and there's a lot of hope at the same time, because we're being beckoned, you know, all of humanity, to come into a new way of being with ourselves, with each other, with the planet, especially the planet. I
Oh
mean,
man, yeah.
right? This is a, I feel like this is the coronavirus, I feel in a way is like a backhanded slap across the face from another mother nature to humanity, you know, because if I was thinking about it sort of abstractly yesterday, I was walking my little doggy, that, you know, why a virus that attacks the humans and not any other species on the planet? Well, because we're the ones who are destroying most things. And, you know, the virus is a reflection, the virus is a reflection, the macrocosm, the microcosm, the universe is a mirror. The virus is a reflection of all that toxicity that we have, that we're putting out and into the world on all these different levels. You know, there's narcissism is really, really big right now, in terms of, you know, what you see online and people dealing with it and recovering from it and healing with it and getting out of relationships with people who have, you know, these, there's, we all have those narcissistic traits, but then there's NPD, the full-blown disorder, which seems to be a little bit rampant, unfortunately. So I think there's a huge,
Or
you know,
fortunately. Or fortunately.
yes, well, for people who are in it, it's unfortunate, you know, but there
Oh
can
yeah.
be,
Well,
yeah,
but that's healing. That's a lot of healing going on there, you know.
yeah, but when there's a lot of abuse, you know, it's, I
No,
mean,
I understand. I
I've been
understand. No,
in
I
it.
mean it's unfortunate to be in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But absolutely, from a soul's perspective, on the flip side, there's tremendous opportunity for growth and change and personal awareness. And there's so many fragments of ourselves that we're recovering. And, you know, even in the spiritual community, and I had a huge integration around a few months ago around spiritual narcissism within myself. And, you know, on an energetic plane, it was more about, you know, these are all archetypes of consciousness. So, for example, if I have a spiritual narcissist within myself and I'm pushing that part of myself outward and I'm projecting it onto other people, it's important for me, in the role that I've been put in, the job that I've been given, to embrace that part of myself, because there's a light part of it and there's a shadow part of it. But the thing is, things become a shadow when we don't embrace them.
Right.
So as soon as I embrace my spiritual narcissistic self, you know, it's like, oh, I know I have that part of me. You know, I've got to watch it. I've got to keep it in check, but I also need her, because that's what makes me a good teacher, you know, to be really, really like strong. I'm not talking about full blown narcissistic personality disorder, but I
Oh
just
yeah.
mean being like super kind of not narrow minded in my spiritual beliefs or teachings, but in a way it kind of is.
I
Because,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, because we're teaching a certain grade, right? Like I teach grade 3, you teach grade 7 or 13 or whatever. Like we're all teachers in the spiritual school teaching a certain grade. So I need to embrace that I'm an expert of teaching 3rd grade, right?
Right.
And so I need those parts of me. And on the regular scale of narcissism, like selfishness, we all need to be selfish to enhance our self-care in a way. And again, it's like the Buddha way, finding that middle path, making sure we're not too much this or too much that. And at the same time, life is about imbalance as well. There's imbalance in the balance. You know, we try so hard, we try to get it work, we try to get it right, we're doing our work. And, you know, we end up just kind of making ourselves crazy. And the spiritual ego will come in and tell us we have to do more and more and more. You're not doing enough, instead of just knowing and receiving that you can be loved for who you are, how you are right now. There's nothing you need to actually do.
Right.
You know, and that's a really, really tough thing for a lot of us to grasp, because society and culture right now, I think especially in the West, it's like, you're not good enough, you need to do more, you need to have followers, you need to have more subscribers, you need to sell more books, you need to, you know, to be of value. It's like, what are you doing? Where are the numbers? Show me the data around you as a person, that that proves to me that you're good or you're enough or you're successful. And we're just caught in this hamster wheel, this trap. And I think part of this, one of the gifts of this coronavirus is it's asking us to slow down. It's telling us to all go home and be with your families and go into like personal and see what's going on under your own roof, because people we're not a lot of people. I mean, a lot of us are, but there are a lot of people who aren't either.
Yeah.
So as I say that, my dog is scratching at the door to go out. He's so cute. Is that what's going on under my roof right now?
It's interesting. Today, I had a little, time to reflect on like the coronavirus a bit, and to kind of, and I always do this. This is a regular practice for me. Like, how is the coronavirus me? Right? Like, what is it giving me that I've been asking for? And like my message, because I always look at like, yes, the entirety of existence exists in my mind, right? My experience. You have yours, I have mine. And so I look at it and I say, well, in my work and the thing that I'm passionate about spreading, there's a couple things that I want people to do, and that's go in, right? So the entire world is currently being asked, as I see it, to go inside, right? And there was another aspect that I was thinking about, this idea that like, I've lost it, but it's there somewhere. So it was like all of these things about it, where it's just like, breath is a big part of my my practice, like breathing,
Right.
and going inside to be able to be in touch with the outside, which is of equal importance as our ego or our humanity or whatever, right? And like giving space to nature, giving space to, all of these things. And so it's, really interesting to be able to say, okay, well, what is, to really own how we perceive this which is going on around us, like how is this me, and how am I perceiving or creating this in my perception? And so that's kind of something that I had explored today, and I had explored it many times over the last couple of weeks. But today it was just kind of like a new sort of veil was lifted, and this idea of like, oh, I am asking people to go inside, and my belief that people don't want to do that, or people don't want to take that time to themselves or whatnot, is a falsehood, because I look around and people are doing that, and it's just like, once again, proof to me that like, that I'm on my purposeful path or whatnot.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great. It's really important. It's I know it's challenging for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, obviously. But if we're talking about, the spiritual perspective and the that deeper self-inquiry that so much of us are doing as people in recovery, no matter what you're recovering from, right? Recovering from addiction, trauma, abuse, religion, career loss, divorce, grief. I mean, we're all recovering from things all the time at different points in our lives. We never really get away from that. And it's I really feel strongly that this virus is a narcissistic virus. And I think that it's such a reflection of what is going on in our culture and society. And it needs to stop. It has to stop, because I mean, this is the call to action for all of us, to stop it in whatever way we can, in that grander sense, because I don't like to discuss politics, but look at the leader of the United States of America, for example. Some people would claim that he's a narcissist, and a lot of people would agree with that, for example. So he's, on a soul level, he's been put in the spotlight to highlight all of us, for all of us, This is what we have
Yeah.
going on in our culture. For example, he embodies so much of the unhealthy masculine,
Right.
right? And Hillary Clinton, for example, embodied so much of the unhealthy feminine, which is
Mm.
interesting to see when they were, running against each other, all of that. And now he's, Trump's been put on this pedestal because he's the president of our country, in a way.
In a way, I like how you said it, because I don't use those two words together, right?
No, of course not. But,
And I noticed you avoided that earlier, and I was like, oh, good, because that's what I would do. Like,
yeah,
and it's just about like recognition and respect, and
yeah.
I can't like I don't offer that respect.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's more about, respecting the chair of the president, no matter who's in it, in the position, as long as it's there's democracy and equality.
We don't have that.
Which we don't, yeah, exactly. We don't have that. So I think
Right.
that
So
we now have a right to question. I mean, we always have a right to question, but I feel like now it's like, okay, the gates have been opened, and again, from a spiritual perspective, this is all happening for a reason. It's all good.
absolutely,
It's all
absolutely.
good. Like it's like, okay, we're growing, we're changing, things are changing. We in the spiritual community talk about gratitude. Like gratitude has been so popular and trendy over the last few years, right? And it's very authentic. Some people, don't get me wrong, but then there's the deeper questions like, how grateful have you been for your freedoms every day? Do you just even get to walk outside your front door? Because right now we're housebound, we take those
Right.
freedoms for granted, or we take advantage of them. We probably mostly take them for granted living here, that we do. But I mean, the poor people in the state of Wuhan, right? Can you imagine being locked inside for 60 days?
Right.
I can't imagine.
And they're, and China, which again, moving to the political, they're talking about their success, and it's like, well, relative to all the things that
Yeah, I'm
like,
not so sure I believe the numbers coming out of China, but that's just me.
what's that?
I said I'm not so sure I would put lock, stock, and barrel. I would put a lot of stock into the numbers coming out of China, but that's just me.
No, yeah, well, and that's the thing, like, we are being raised in such a strong way to just accept what's coming, and we can't do that. Like, being in touch with ourself, we'll know from our gut and our heart, like, how to proceed, because we can't proceed with fact, because all of those facts are in question.
Yeah. So, me being an intuitive and an empath and being highly psychic, I trust those innate abilities that I have and that I've sharpened and honed over the years. And I sit in my meditation and prayer practice and I say to the universe, my higher power, like, okay, well, what's the dealio? What's going on with all this,
Right.
And, I'm in Southern California, and where we are over here, I don't feel there's an impending doom. All the charts and graphs say opposite, and I could be wrong, but I just don't feel like it's going to get as bad as they say it is, because I believe, and I've seen, envision this huge hand, like the hand of God, coming out of the sky and kind of chopping everything and, moving it off to the side. I think and I also have an innate feeling that as quickly as this virus has come, it will disappear. And the reason I think that will happen, if I speculate on why that would happen, because that's what my intuition tells me, is because it's like, okay, the humans got the message. Now we can give them some breathing room because they're making changes and things are changing, and they got the message, basically. Because in my belief system, I believe there's a divine order and structure to all of this, and there's a higher power who's like the puppet master.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that in our modern day and age in society that it would be like a plague that would just take out a third of the planet. I just don't see it happening. I don't believe
Oh,
that would
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are saying in terms of that, like, but that'd be bad.
Yes. Understatement.
Uh-oh. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah, no, well, again, I pay attention enough to know kind of like the the key points, but I don't like, it was the 14th or 15th before I was really like, oh, this is a thing, like, so like, I guess it was going on, and then all of a sudden, like, someone mentioned to me, yeah, they're going to quarantine. I was like, wait, what? Like, I was like, really? This is a thing? Like, I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
this is a
good.
thing.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, it happened here 3 weeks ago. This is our 3rd week of shelter in place, they call it in California.
yeah, that's what we're calling it as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
keep
So,
forgetting that term though.
yes, I know everyone calls it lockdown, which isn't true. But I just spoke to somebody in England yesterday, and the police in the streets over there, it's very real. Like he said, he walked his kids down the street to their mother's house, and the mother lives 1.5-minute walk from his house, which is great for the kids. And he said people looked at him, giving him these dirty looks. Social shaming. Social distancing is going to turn into social shaming soon. Yeah, so it's interesting. Police there are definitely asking people, is it necessary that you're out walking in the park? So we're pretty lucky here, because I can take my dog for a walk and meet other neighbors out with their dogs, and we stand our space apart, but no one's giving us a hard time for just being out and walking like they are in England. I know they're starting to do that there. So,
well, social shaming is part of the English culture.
yes.
So, I mean, I mean, I wouldn't, that doesn't surprise me. Like, like, like I know some Brits, and like, they just take, like, and I know you're British. So,
I'm diluted British.
but social shaming is like, it's kind of the right of the British. They're just,
Yes.
they take that shit seriously.
Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true.
So in all of this time, it's hard to really kind of discuss other things, but I mean, you got your book, you got, like, I mean, how's your daughter doing? The one that's living with you, is she taking to this well?
Oh, thanks. It's hard for her. She's a senior in high school, and like her and a lot of her friends, they're getting rejection and acceptance letters from colleges right now, on top of being told they have to stay at home, on top of being, thinking we may not have a prom, we might not have all these things, we may not graduate. She's an IB candidate, so the International Baccalaureate program, they canceled. It's an international diploma, and they canceled all the exams. So they've been working for this diploma for 2 years, and now they don't get to take their final exams. They're just going to give them the diploma based on their current work performance. So it's a lot for them to deal with. It's a lot. She doesn't really have fear of the virus or getting sick. She has respect for it, but she doesn't have fear, because, I don't live in fear. And so I think she gets that a lot from me. So yeah, she's respectful of it. We're both respectful of it, but we don't have fear of getting it or becoming really unwell or dying or anything like that.
Yeah.
So she has a healthy perspective that way. But yeah, the first week was supposed to be spring break, and that's when the virus was all over the media. I mean, it still is all over the media, but that first week, I mean, everybody was, it was all through social media and everything. So I think she was feeling a bit depressed, from that, which is understandable. I think we all were to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an adjustment, right? It's an adjustment for everybody. But I was feeling this morning, just exercising in my garage, because of course I can't go to the gym.
Right.
And I was feeling this morning that I could feel the shift in my mindset. It's like, took 2-3 weeks. It's taken 3 weeks. I felt something click in my mind. Say, okay, this is our new reality.
Yeah.
And it's going to shift a little bit, right? It's going to change. It's going to morph. But I could feel how in 3 weeks, my brain had accepted the change. Like, brain has adapted, completely. It's like, okay, this is new reality. Just up and onward. Just keep going with this new way that we're all going to be living. It'll be interesting to see. I'm curious about travel, like air travel, the whole travel industry. I'm curious to see what will happen with that. And I'm curious to get a better finger on the pulse about how people are doing spiritually, talking about faith, and book Jesus Unplugged, where this is going to take people, where it's going to invite people. As you said, people are staying at home. They're doing more deeper self-inquiry. I mean, okay, I'm just curious to see what will happen. I think a lot of things will blossom and bloom from this. And as we know, that takes time, right? You start to hear stories sort of come out of the woodwork, and we're in still early days yet, really, with all of it.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what will happen with that. And I'm excited too to see what will happen, because I think a lot of good is going to come out of it. I mean, we all saw the pictures on the news and social media about, animals returning to certain, was it in Venice, right? The water's cleared up because
Right.
the pollution, air over China's gotten better. I mean,
And then the EPA lifts all their regulations. So
oh, really?
yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, so pollution, like it's kind of a free for all for pollution right now for anybody that can get out and do it.
Interesting.
And I don't know what
Yeah.
the thought process is behind that, but
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah.
That's makes
Um,
curious. Very curious.
very curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm trying to track the energy, but I don't really get anything on it.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I think certain individuals are like, well, if this is happening, then we can balance it. Like we should be able to pollute more. And with our administration, of course, that makes sense. That the math works on that. Like when that's how you view the world, right? Like just like
Mhm.
when it's just an equation. Like these rules were put in place because there was too much pollution. We've reduced pollution because of this virus. We should be able to pollute more. It's a math problem. And if you view the world as a math problem, which arguably our administration does, it's kind of a simple solution. Like, of course, release the hounds.
Right. Yeah, it's astonishing, and makes me think of the health workers, the medical community, and everything all that they're doing to save lives and risk their own lives. And it's extraordinary. There's no way to describe it on so many levels. It's just such an extraordinary thing. And I feel that people in those positions do have a faith, whether their faith is in medicine or a higher power, or they do have a
Yeah.
faith, because otherwise they probably wouldn't be where they are with such dedication and fervor, with their work. So, and it's humbling, right? It's like you feel small, and I know I feel small in all of this, and I feel like I wish there's more I could do, but people say, you're doing enough by staying home. I looked into sewing some, I have a sewing machine, and I was looking into some masks, but I don't have the right materials. So then I was seeing that there's a shortage of blood. So blood donations they're being asked around here, asking people to donate. So I was thinking of doing that. But I'm a little bit nervous to go out into a space. They're actually doing it at a hospital. I'm just a little nervous to go near hospital right now. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But I'm contemplating doing that this week to
Yeah,
contribute.
I don't, a friend of mine made some masks. I have one from her, and I'm grateful for it. Even though I only wore it once. I have it, and it's nice, and I'm really grateful for her, contribution to it all. And for me, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing anything. I'm doing what I do, like, and I feel like having always been just passionate about what I do and always following my heart, like I'm doing what I need to be doing and always have been. I'm not being called to do anything else, like, and I'm not, and I'm in a place where I feel good, and I'm, like the first couple days of everything, like I don't know if it was last week or the week before, it was deer in headlights for a little bit, but that passed over after 2 or 3 days, and just got back stuck in.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm grateful
Yeah.
for that.
That's good. That's great. I definitely feel like the call to action for me also lies in the message of Jesus Unplugged, finding God's light without
Yeah.
religion. And I
Mhm.
definitely feel that there's a thread in there somewhere, trusting again the divine timing of the message. That the book can be, a bit of a spiritual salve for people who need it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's my hope, that can be a bit of a healing balm during this time for people.
Yeah. And
And
marketing that and stuff like that is good work, because it's
yes,
marketing,
needed.
it's like, it's not, again, like there does have to be a balance between the ego and the work, like the physical work, because you're not just a spiritual being, like you're spiritual and physical, right? And really finding balance between those, because it's always a swinging pendulum, like the world as the Western world as we know it is, what was the word that you were using earlier? um we're really focused on the doing, on the physical aspect of like what life is. You and I and people of our nature, like we are more focused on the heart, love, guts, sort of like spiritual, like soul side, you know. And for us, a swinging of the pendulum more physical, and for them, a swinging of the pendulum more spiritual, is probably healthy, you know.
Mhm.
Standing in our spirituality, waiting for the physicalness of the world to come to us and saying, see, told you so, is not going to help the world, right? Like it's good for us to, I mean, I think I spoke to you about this months ago, about like how the one word that would always irritate me was, pardon my French, but douchebag, like someone calling me that, and like that would really enrage me because of what I associated with that. Um, and I realized that having to embrace that somehow, embrace that which, like, and like you were speaking earlier with this idea of, the spiritual ego and whatnot, that we have to embrace those sides of us that are, you know fighting to get some attention and love.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that ego in the spiritual community, ego has almost become a swear word, right?
Right.
And it's so important, and we're not, to me, you were saying, physical, spiritual, to me, they're the same thing, because the
Yeah.
physicality, our physical body is in our spirit. We're not a spirit in a body. We're actually, our spirit's larger than that. So the body is in our spirit,
Right.
and like working it like a little puppet. Um, so yeah, and vice versa. I mean, who really knows, right? They're all just like ideas that we have, but
Right. Yeah.
no one knows for sure. No one knows for sure. But it's the ego is important to love and honor and integrate, and we need an ego. I mean, look at Oprah Winfrey, for example. She wouldn't be where she is today without her ego. You just look at people who are successful, they embrace their ego and they use it. The ego is a tool. And there's the positive ego and then there's the negative ego, which I think is an important discernment, because people kind of lump the ego into like one lump sum, and that's not really the case. We have a positive ego, which stops us from stepping out in front of a bus and getting hit by it, as you cross
Right.
the
Right.
street. And then of course we're all familiar with the negative ego that like overreacts and inflates things, and wants to hold on to rigid beliefs and ideas out of self-protection, all this kind of thing. The personality structure, basically the negative ego to me is all the defense mechanisms that we have.
Right. I'm just drawing.
I could tell you're busy drawing. You're busy drawing. So what's your weather like over there?
It's spring in Chicago. I mean, I like it. It's like 50s, and a little overcast, rainy. Perfect time to start a garden, which is what I'm going to be doing tomorrow and maybe Thursday a little bit. I'm going to be planting some greens because that's a big aspect of my diet due to my MS and stuff. So yeah, so like that's all on the horizon for me, which is really nice. I mean, I like the idea of growing food and especially food that's easy to grow, like greens. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna do that in my mom's yard because things are shifting for me. I'm currently living at my sister's house, but just because the situation that I had been in over the last year trying to get all my stuff off the ground. So I'm gonna be moving shortly, and I'm gonna start a garden, and yeah, I'm excited about that. Like,
Cool.
again,
new beginning, right? New
yeah.
growth. Hold on, I'm gonna open the door for the Chomini. Sorry, hold on one second. There you go. Yes, planting, gardening, new growth, new beginnings.
Yeah, like it's
all of that, right? Spring, rebirth, renewal. It's all super powerful and important, and that's a good thing. Those are all exciting things.
Yeah.
I'm sure your mom will be happy too because she'll get to enjoy some of it.
Well, no. My mom is currently living in Virginia with my sister because so there's the story and drama of my family runs deep. But no, everybody's happy and healthy at this point, and I'm just I'm looking forward to again, like I'm going to be living with my mom's husband and their son, and that'll be, that's going to be good for me. Just it's a new shift, so we'll see where it leads.
Very nice, very nice. What else? What other exciting things do you have going on this week?
This week, well,
Today's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Oof, geez.
You're not supposed to say that, Martin. I'm just kidding. You're supposed to be all like perfect and special and love every day, don't you know?
No, I just wrapped up my next podcast. My last two podcasts I was super, super excited about. They haven't gotten a lot of views because like the two people that I interviewed are not marketing types. They don't have a following. They're just folks doing stuff. And one guy was an artist who was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh, that's great. You told me. What was that?
It's a great episode. I would encourage listening to it because it is a great episode. Like we talk about, so his belief about recovering from that diagnosis and my belief about recovering from addiction is very similar. And he hasn't taken medication in 10 years. And it is, he's got a lot of really good points about I've mentioned that to a number of very open, very loving people. And they have said, like you say, here's a guy with schizophrenia that hasn't taken medication in 10 years. Their first reaction is, oh no, and it's like the medical industry is, really hell bent on keeping us sick, and not that not taking meds is for everybody, right? And we talk about that, but right. His not taking meds and really controlling his environment, as best he can, and paying attention to his body and paying attention to how he's responding, and we address how responsible you have to be if you're going to move this way. And it's the same with me and my MS. I don't take meds for my MS, haven't taken meds for my MS in 5 years, but it's a it's it's a lot of responsibility, you know? So, so being able to recognize that and be able to talk about that in terms of like what it is, you know, in terms of that responsibility and stuff was really great. I was really happy to do that episode. And so that's out. And then the last one I did, this woman who runs this thing called the Warm Line in Chicago.
What's
And the
that?
Warm Line is just a phone call that you can make to talk about anything. But it's manned or womaned, or it's like the people who answer the phone are people in recovery. So if you call and you just want to talk about, and she makes this reference, if you just want to talk about cooking greens, the person on the other line will just talk about cooking greens. But the point is that they help those that need someone to talk to have someone to talk to about anything you want.
Right.
And the idea is that, you know, we show you that you have value. And if we show you that you have value, maybe you will take that value and you know, work towards your own recovery. So
That's great.
so
I like that, a warm line. It's such a great idea.
yeah.
How long's it been in existence?
Oh, I didn't ask that. But it's, you know, like, so it's called Illinois Warm Line, and you know, it is for people in Illinois, but I don't know how they, like, I don't know if they like cut you off or you have like
Right.
how they know that. So I'm sure anybody can call. But you know, I didn't put that out there, you know, like it's like anybody can call it. They don't have a way to do that, but I don't believe they have a way. I can't imagine Illinois is that advanced. I mean, maybe they actually ask you, are you in Illinois? And then, oh, I can't talk to you. I doubt they would do that, but yeah. So the Warm Line is a really cool thing, and I presented the person who's big part of like running that program. So so that was great, and she is a, you know, like she found religion through her recovery. And I thought like her aspect of talking about and addressing her religion, because she was like, all addictions rooted in sin. And
That's a heavy statement.
you ain't got to tell me that, but
Well, it's interesting. All addiction is rooted in sin. Technically, it's an accurate statement.
right.
Energetically and emotionally and belief system wise, it feels
heavy.
super inappropriate. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But technically it's true. Do you know why?
Well, I think so, but you can tell me.
Because the word sin means to miss the mark. I always say, oh gosh, I've missed the mark lots of times. Anyone who's missed the mark, raise their hand. Who else has missed the mark?
Yeah.
Lots of times. Right? So technically it's an accurate statement, but
yeah.
the intention behind it feels like there's a lot of shame, you know, and we all carries enough shame. I don't think we need to add any more.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And there's a lot to be said about that, right? Like, and I believe that, like, and I make my platform is for people to be able to speak, you know, and be able to tell me about your recovery without judgment, because like, yes, I know that's a heavy statement, but it's one that she's making. Like, I asked her, what is addiction? She was just like, when I define addiction for my own personal, and she was like, I understand addiction from my job, but my own personal. And I was like, that's what I want. It's coming from sin. And I'm good with that. Like, because she's not talking about addiction of other people. She's talking about her own, and the way she looks at her life and the way she looks at her recovery. And how are you going to keep your recovery? You recover yourself, right? And when you recover yourself, whatever's calling to you to keep you on your path is what's important. And that is her relationship with God or Jesus. I mean, she lost her son when she was, I think, 2 or 3 years sober.
Mm,
And
gosh.
she went and she was miserable for a long, long time. And then she went to church, and she was like, and I don't remember what they said, but what I walked out of there is that God lost his son, and so like that resonated with her. And so that, possibly gave her enough strength to look at herself and really solidify her recovery through a higher power of Jesus or the higher power of God. And I don't know how she delineates these things, but
Right.
because I even asked her, like, if she was part of a sect or anything. She was like, no, like, I'm the God sect, like, I just God, like, so.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. Otherwise, wherever people plug into, what happens is sometimes, again, all a part of the path and the baby steps and going through like the different levels of evolution or enlightenment, if you want to call it. But it's, then in 10 years, you have to wake up. Whatever we ascend to, we have to wake up out of that eventually,
No, I got that. Like whatever, like if it's
that
like,
works
I always say, if it's
now, but
not
like in
you,
10 years, you're going to have to recover from that belief.
right? Absolutely. And maybe that's something that this soul will tackle in this lifetime. Maybe it's not, right? Like, but it is it if it's not pure, right, then you're not done. And I'm not, like, far from it, right? Like being done is just continuing to dig into that. Like, I don't care if you have a grain of sand, there's still something to dig into,
Yeah. My hope is that eventually people and we can all learn to bypass a lot of the shame and judgment that gets passed down, that even exists in the collective, from a lot of the patriarchal religions. There's a lot of good in the patriarchal religions, but there's also a shadow. And I think it's kind of created a lot of, it has created problems over time, like any shadow. And, it is what it is, and it's here to be healed. And we see it, that's why the Gen Zennials, right? The next 2 generations, they don't want religion so much anymore. There's so much hypocrisy, right? There's sex abuse scandals in the news with priests, and you've got pregnant nuns coming out of the closet. Like, it's
really.
Oh yeah. It's
I
wild.
haven't heard about this.
Yeah, it's wild what's been going on. So I mean, you said something really poignant. You just talked about the purity.
Right.
Is there any church around anymore where we can say there's like pure purity? I heard somebody say in my like 10 years ago, I heard somebody say, religion's not the problem. It's the people in the religion that are the problem. I was like, well, yeah, people interpret things, and then they have their shadows and their projections and their denial. And, we're human, and we all make mistakes, and we do funny things sometimes, and we act in weird ways. We act unconsciously. But even if that were true, if you take the people out of religion and you read some religion, for some people it's going to work, and for others it still won't.
Well,
if you asked me to read the Bible back to front, which I've never done, and asked me if I would, subscribe to every belief in that book, I'd probably say, I'm sorry, I can't.
Absolutely. And therein lies the problem with all groups. Like, you can't subscribe to everything of the group. You might be able to subscribe to aspects of it. You might be able to subscribe to, some of the main things that they do, but you will never. And the thing is once you have a group, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, once you have a group, religion, or whatever they are, that group can change directions at any moment with or without your approval. And by being a part of a group, you are not, you will eventually be afraid of losing the support of that group, thus supporting things you don't support.
That's when it becomes a cult.
What's that?
That's when it becomes a cult.
Right. Well, what religion isn't really, right? Like, I mean, if we look at the current Pope, I don't know if you follow the Pope at all, but I mean, he's said so many like things that are like contradictory since he's been in, you know, like he loves people and then, oh, they shouldn't be that way. And like, oh, well, especially when it talks about like homosexuality and other stuff like that.
Mhm.
And you know, like it gets to be really convoluted and maybe it's supposed to be.
Well,
Because
I think you just hit the nail on the head, Martin. It's supposed to be.
right.
It is supposed to be. And my philosophy is it's supposed to be because this is how we learn discernment. This is how we learn spiritual discernment. This is how, you know, I call 31 flavors of spirituality. You pick and choose what resonates for you and what doesn't, you leave out the rest. So you make your own spiritual flavor, right?
Right.
It's supposed to be, I believe, because it forces the issue for you to sit down and question your moral philosophy. What do you believe in? And this out of your moral philosophy comes your spiritual philosophy, right? They're kind of not so different in a lot of ways.
No, and I agree with that. And I think that a big part of that is, and the most wonderful part of that is that, well, a wonderful part of that is the fact that it is set up, religion is set up, and the times that we're living on are set up for you to, you know, how I refer to it and how you've referred to it is recover yourself, right? Like when you look outside of yourself for an answer, it will not be clear. So where's your clarity? How do you find clarity within yourself? What is you? What do you want? And how do you love? Right? What resonates with you? Take that and define it for yourself and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The challenge for people, they don't trust themselves because they have been steered and convinced and coerced to serve other people's needs and wants and desires.
That's right.
So they end up not trusting themselves. So that's why they look to a discipline, say spiritual discipline or rituals or practices or ceremonies or churches or temples to
Yeah, and churches or temples could be
them.
anything, right? It could be
Right.
school, it could be your job, it could be money, it could be, you know. It's not
Yes. Yeah. In the pure sense of the word though.
right.
So I mean everyone's spiritually thirsty. They just don't know that they are.
Right. No, and I agree
When
with
you're
that.
seeking or you feel a void or an emptiness or a disconnect, loneliness, disconnection, sad, you know, chronically sad, chronic addiction. It's all like lack of connection, which is to me lack of spiritual connection. It's a lack of connection to something greater than yourself. So the antidote is to find something greater than yourself. Call it whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And despite the joke in AA, you can't call it a doorknob. Have you heard that?
They can't call it doorknob?
It can't. Some people would tell me in AA, there's a joke about, you know, it doesn't matter what you call it. You can even call a doorknob your higher power.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
no, I mean, I've heard things of
I'm not
that.
sure about that one. Let me think about it and get back to you.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
You know, and for my work, you know, so much of how I want, like my ultimate work is being that higher power. You know, like I know that God is there. and that it is not that, you know, like in my interview with the woman from the Warm Line, you know, she was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Why not? And she was just like, no, of course you're not good enough. That's why Jesus died for your sins. And then that helped her, you know, that helped her go, oh, so I don't have to follow, I don't have to try to continue being good. I can just be. And it was like, great, like how beautiful, like for you to be able to like relieve yourself of that. Like, however we can do it. Again, it's hers, right? So much of that is, you know, for me, I look at it differently. I look at it very differently. But you know, like getting rid of the idea that there is a good enough, right? Like that's a level that needs to be achieved. Like it's like, yes, of course, I am perfect. Like that's how I approach it, right? Like from a place of perfection. So
That's a healthy place to be and to come from, because a lot of people don't have that.
right. You know, I mean, I talk to people all the time who I very much respect, and they're always saying, well, there is no perfection. And I'm just like, okay, we're gonna leave it at that. You know, like it's just like sometimes I chime in and I say, oh, you know what? Well, if everything's perfect, then like it's really just a way of either dismissing or looking at things in this kind of open way of being like, wait, that's perfect. It doesn't feel that way. Where is my feeling incongruent with the world? Right.
You know how I like to sum it up? I like to sum it up by saying we are the perfect and perfect of ourselves.
We are the perfect, imperfect.
Imperfect of ourselves.
That's nice.
Yeah, kind of lets you bounce between the two a little bit.
Right.
Give you some wiggle room. Yeah, you are the perfect and perfect of yourself, and I am the perfect and perfect of myself. It's like, oh, that basically says we are enough, just as we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're perfect. You're perfect as you are because you are a work in progress.
Right.
You're just this clay that's being molded.
And who you are tomorrow is not who you're supposed to be, or who is not the perfect you today. Who you are tomorrow is the perfect you tomorrow.
Right.
Which is what you will do when you wake, which is what you will achieve when you wake up tomorrow, just because that is who you are.
Right. Yeah.
That's how
all cool stuff, man.
Yeah, we always kind of tackle the big things, don't we?
You know, coming back to the whole universe is a mirror, and this hologram of the coronavirus and what it's teaching us and where it's taking us and what it's showing us and the invitation and the call to action. I mean, I think it's just so important that we all, you know, look in the mirror and ask ourselves, where are we being selfish? And that's really, really hard for people in recovery, especially because people are just getting their legs, they're just getting up on their feet, you know, and then to get hit with this, you know, people and lots of other people, their own challenges. It's extraordinary, but the medicine is in the poison. And I think that the medicine is different for each of us, maybe as individuals, but then there's this collective medicine as well. And I think that if we can discern, you know, find the difference of the two, we'll be better off. So we're doing our part in our own little microcosm, in our own little world, and then also in the macrocosm of humanity, and, you know, what's being reflected to us.
Yeah.
So as I said, more, I feel more will reveal itself as time goes on. You know, we're all learning as we go, for sure, what our higher power, the universe, which we are a part of, right? The universe is not outside us. We are the universe. Like, we are. We're all reflections of that. We're all expressions of it. It wants to know itself through us. Our higher power wants to know itself through us. We're all expressions of extensions of that light or that source energy. And so, yeah, so the coronavirus is the same. It is us.
Absolutely.
It is us, you know, so.
And one of the first conversations I had for my Recover Yourself discussions on Zoom and Facebook Live and stuff was, how are you, the coronavirus? So how is the coronavirus a reflection of you? And we had that conversation, and what a beautiful conversation it was, of just like, you know, how is this also fulfilling what you've been desiring in your life? Like, where, like, how can we look at it differently rather than something that we need to, you know, immediately push away? Just say, okay, well, how is this fulfilling what I've wanted?
What were some of the responses that you got from people on your Facebook?
A lot of people responded with the idea that, like, you know, like, well, the quiet time and the nature, kind of, the overtaking of nature again, like, you know, seeing like this proof to a world that they didn't believe existed, right? The world that says, no, 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 we, you know, like, like, I remember in the 70s, they used to say the solution to pollution is dilution. And I'm like, well,
Really?
yeah, I remember this in the States. That was a thing that they said. And I remember even being a kid going, you're going to add to the ocean? Like, you're going to add more water to it? Like you can't do that, right? Like, I mean, I remember being a little boy and being like, that doesn't make sense. That was the same time that people were saying, like, animals don't feel pain. You know, my dad used to say that when he beat my dog.
Oh no, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, so that was another aspect of, like, me as a child being like, that doesn't make sense.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had to see that as a child, and your poor dog.
It sounds like my dog feeling pain.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, like, I know when I got beat, I felt it, so why wouldn't he, right? Like, so that was just you know, that's just part of all of that.
you talk
But
about
yeah,
that
I mean, we spoke of a lot of things. Have you heard of Human Online?
Human dot online.
Yeah, so it's like, instead of .com, it's .online. So it's like
Oh,
Human Online. No.
no.
So it is a website where you can go gaze with people. So it's a video site where you get connected with some random person for 1 minute with no audio, and all you do is gaze into their eyes.
Really?
It's beautiful.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was something that came up during that first meeting as well. That website came up and we talked about it, and I was introduced to it, and so I went, and I've done it a number of times since then.
Oh, you have? What was it like?
Oh, it's great. You know, like, some people, the website directs you to be quiet and to just gaze. Don't try to communicate without words. Just focus on your feelings. And then one person that I went on with is just like, hello, 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 you know, like, trying to communicate with me, and I'm just staring. And then he writes a note, hello from Brazil. Like, I'm this person, and I'm like, that's really cute, you know, and and for me, like, it's just like, no, I'm just gonna stare at you, and you have to, like, I have to look at my feelings and you have to look at yours. But after a minute of someone going, you know, like, you're like, hello, like, I see you, but it's
we're just gonna go with the flow on this one. That's cute. You're saying, like, it's designed for you to look at your feelings, and I was imagining what feelings were coming up for you while he was doing that.
right.
Oh my gosh, he's breaking the rules. How do I feel about this?
Yeah, no, it wasn't
right.
I was just like, oh, that's really
stuff that
interesting.
came up inside you. Oh my gosh, he's a rule breaker. Should I report? Like, kidding, but you know what I mean.
Well, right, yeah, like, you know, you do have feelings, and then it's like, you know, I was able to quickly just kind of be like, oh, okay, well, he's doing that, and I'm gonna show him that I see it. But I just keep trying to go in, and just, I'm watching him do that, going, you know, like, I wasn't feeling off by it, other than, like, I was feeling obligated to do something. And I kept looking at that and going, don't feel obligated to please this person.
Right.
right? And that's, and even though I
Well,
did that, like,
even that, Martin, is reflection. Don't feel obligated to please this person. How, so if you question that, how would you be pleasing him?
or how, right, like,
Right?
what about my own feelings about obligating to make my little boy feel good? Yeah, no, exactly.
To please the part of yourself that's like, but you're not playing by the rules.
Well,
Oh, that's
or
awesome.
it's not about that. It's about, utilizing the rules, i.e., as an adult, you don't play with toys and you weren't good, so we're going to take your toys away, which happened to me. Leads me to not want to buy my little guy a fucking toy. Like, leads me to not want to respect my little self. And those are the things that I get to experience when I did like the human.online thing. Like, and so I recommend it. It's pretty cool.
I'll write that down. It's just 1 minute.
Yeah. Like, you go on, you register or whatever it is, and then you say, okay, I'm ready. And you put yourself on camera in the outline of yourself. And then it'll open. And then when someone's ready to like, when you have somebody that will gaze with you, it opens up, they pop up, and it's just on for a minute. And then like the last 10 seconds or last 5 seconds, you see like in the corner of your eye, you'll see like a little white bar kind of shrink. So then you can kind of acknowledge them and then step away. It's really beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Who started
Yeah.
that? And like why and when? And I love that.
Yeah, I don't know much about it other than like, I mean, I've done it a couple times. They're on Instagram and they're on, like,
Oh, so
um,
cool to connect with other people, especially during this pandemic.
yeah, and they have a time every day where they have like what they call a gathering, so that a lot of people can get on at the same time. And, because you might go on, there might only be 3 people on, and so like you might just get the same person if you wanted to do it more than once. There are times during the day when I'm freaking out and I'll just be like, I'm going to do that. And then I just go and I stare at somebody, and then boom, centers you right up. Like you're staring at your soul, like you're staring at yourself,
Right.
wherever they are.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Powerful. So you had Brazil. What other countries?
I don't know. The only reason I know that he was from Brazil is because he told me through like writing it on a piece of paper.
Don't you think they should put where people are from?
No.
You don't?
No, like you just look at them and they're people, and that's beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have guessed he was from Brazil. I mean, Brazilians like look like they can be from a lot of places, so I don't know that I would have.
Being intuitive and psychic, I would probably get the vibe right away. Like that's the thing.
Maybe.
Yeah,
there was a game.
You can actually, like, if I did that, I would probably get people's, like, I could tune into them and get their story in 1 minute.
Yeah, probably. There was a game online. There's an online game, and I don't know if it's still around or not. It's awesome. It drops you somewhere on Google Maps, on Street View.
Okay.
And you have, I think there's a time limit. You can't zoom out, but you can travel up and down the road that you've been dropped on. And you have to pinpoint on a world map where you've been placed.
Oh, so you have to guess where you are?
Mm-hmm. It was fun. Like I mean, this was years ago that I ran across that. But like, the first thing I want to find is a street sign so I can see the language.
Yeah.
Right. And then I can be like, okay, this is countryside of, it looks like a, Slavic language or whatever, and so you just like, and then you pinpoint, and then you drop a pin on the planet where you think around where you are. And I think they give you like 10, and you have to get within like 1,000 miles. Like after those 10, like after you place those 10, each one, like if you say like, oh, this is in upstate New York, but it's in California, that's a lot of distance. And then the next one, you know, you might say, oh, this is in like, you know, in Australia, and it might be in Australia, and so like it might be close, and so like, you know, there's less distance, and then they add those up, and so you got to have between a certain mileage, and that's the point of the game, you know, like to try and get less than X number of miles off from just being placed.
So you're in my mind, and I was thinking that all like video games were kind of silly and a waste of time, but I think you're changing my mind now.
Oh no, yeah, like you know, like those are just like, you know, again, being intuitive, like it's a real sweet sort of, you know, way to think about like the world and to be like, oh, this feels like this place that I've heard of, right? And then how worldly are you, or how
Well, that's the other thing. I'm sure you would get put in places like that. Like I was on I listened to a YouTube live the other day, and this girl was on from this country in between Guyana and French Guyana, when they speak Dutch, and it started with an S. I don't even remember what it's called. Like, I've never heard of that country before. I felt so stupid. And I don't know. I mean, my geography is okay. It's not great, but I felt really ignorant because I didn't know the country she was from.
like okay.
Are you trying to think of it?
A couple names are coming to me, and I like there's I forget. It's because French Guiana is a small country on the western coast of northeastern coast of Africa. I can't think of the surrounding countries. Africa is so tough because there's so many countries.
Africa is tough.
And you know, I'm not from there. That's another big one. Like,
right.
Oh, it's interesting.
Suriname. This country's called Suriname.
Suriname. Yeah.
I speak Dutch.
Well,
is that amazing?
Not really. The Dutch.
I know. I mean, French Guyana's next door, so.
Right. They speak French.
Yes, she's so cute. She was probably about 60. She's like, I live in a country between French Guyana and English Guyana. It's cute. She's like regular Guyana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a soccer fan, I get to, you know, I know a lot of those African countries because I'll watch soccer, right? So so I, even though I'd be able to tell you what continent most countries are, just because of that, because like the world of soccer is broken up into you know, sections. That's so I'm cool. Like, oh yeah, that's, you know,
you learn through osmosis,
right? And you know, there's oh, I can't think of the name now. There's a country in South America that is in the North America, Caribbean, Central America division that I keep forgetting. And I think it's just, so Panama comes down and enters into, well, it doesn't, it's like, it's just next to Colombia. It's a small country, just kind of on the northeastern border of Colombia, I think. But it's right on the coast in the northeastern side, and I forget the name of it, but that's another one that's like, here's this tiny country, right? Like that.
Does it start with, do you remember?
You know, I want to say an S, but that might just be because of your surname reference.
You can look it up. Let's see.
It's a small country right on the northern coast. Northeastern-ish.
Northeastern-ish.
Yeah, what's on the northeastern coast of South America?
Well, Brazil is, well, we were
That's
just there.
further south.
French-
It's north of Brazil.
Well, Brazil is really big, and then it's French Guyana. And this other country isn't even
Is
Suriname,
that
Guyana,
Suriname?
Suriname. Maybe it's Suriname I'm thinking of.
Maybe. Yeah. They might be part of them. That might be the one.
Brazil is Belém. Is that no, that's a city, I think. Brazil is really big.
Yeah, Brazil ain't no joke.
Brazil is huge.
Yes.
Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, right, that's in the south. Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, well, Colombia, Venezuela. I remember in 5th grade, I had to memorize all those countries and all their capitals. I knew them once upon a time.
Yeah, there are some and I'll play these on occasion, like geography games, just so I can brush up on my geography. I haven't played one in a couple of years, but
Where do you
that's
play?
online. There's just like literally just online games that are free that you can just play.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like they're probably just made for kids, like, but they're like geography is a good thing to know.
Is it an app or just online?
No, just online. Like I'm sure they have apps. Like if you look up
I remember because when my kids were younger in school, they would learn. I think it was a geography app, actually.
Geography. People want to know geography because
Yeah, geography is actually cool. That's like a good life skill, right? To brush up on geography.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I told someone I went to Chile. They didn't even know what continent it was in. I was just like,
I know.
I was like, oh my God, like I don't even know what to say to that. Like I don't know if I ever did not know what continent Chile was in.
Okay, there's an app called World Geography, and it's trivia.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. And there's another one called Maps of Our World, which is the geography quiz. Oh, this is so fun. I'm totally going to do this.
Yeah.
There's one called Elevate. We've heard there are ads for it. I think you see them. Trivia. Maps of Our World has 11,000 votes. That would be a good one. Okay, we're downloading the app called Maps of Our World so we can be smarter than we already are.
That's right. We're working on our geography.
Yes. It's so funny you bring it up because literally earlier this week I was thinking, I really need to expand my brain and do some memory games and memorizing as opposed to playing cards, like memorizing countries. Memorizing geography is a great way to improve your memory.
Yeah. Well, memorizing anything, I mean, geography is a good one.
Yeah, geography is a fun one because it comes up in conversation and then you feel like you can contribute because Yeah, Africa, let's see, how many countries? Africa has how many countries, Martin? Do you know?
Africa?
Yeah, how many countries? Yes.
I'm going to take a stab and say 36.
55.
Whoa. I was going to go higher, but I was playing conservative.
That's a lot of countries.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so cool. You are so clever.
I'm clever. So I don't know why, but both of these that I've done online are blue, and I'm wondering if it's because of the blue light of the screen. I don't think about the backgrounds. I just place them in, but I realized that both the last one I did, which was done online, and this one are both the same blue. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 12 different choices of like color because I usually just block in the background.
Is it pastel?
Yeah, oil pastel.
Cool.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna mail this to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm
gonna put it up on my wall.
Yeah. Well, you
put it up on my purple wall. Can you tell me right here? It's perfect.
Like it's not gonna match.
I love the purple.
No, it will, because
Um,
look, I have butterflies and they're blue.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so they'll go on that walnut fit. Perfect.
Morpho butterfly. That's my favorite. Do you know the morpho butterfly?
Yes. Were we talking about that, or was I talking
I
about
don't think I talked about it.
something?
I may have. I talk about it sometime.
I think maybe you did bring it up before.
Okay. I it's really dull underneath, but it's like it's opulescent. Like the wings are opulescent, and so like they're kind of like a foil, and they're gorgeous, gorgeous
Wow.
wings.
Where
But
do
the
they
underside is
live?
just like black. What's that?
Where do they live? Where are they from?
South America, the Amazon. Yeah.
Have you been to the Amazon?
Yes, yes, I have. Like, it's funny that I can say that because I don't really even consider it. Like, it's like, because I visited the Amazon for a day. Like, and like I didn't see the river or anything, but I was in the jungle
Which
with a
country
friend of mine when I was in Brazil.
is that?
Not Brazil. I was not in Brazil. I was in Colombia.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, you know, like I had an art show in the Amazon, like literally I had an art show in Quibdó in the state of Chaco in Colombia. Here's some geography.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Quibdó is
that's
a
good
city in
geography.
the state of
You lost me
Chaco.
after Colombia. Yeah.
So you can look that up if you're interested. You know, that was another thing. Like when you got dropped in that Street View game, if you were dropped in like the middle of a third world country, like that's a thing, you know, like you look around and you're like, well, this isn't like the Northern Hemisphere. So like immediately, like how your mind starts to like solve the problem of where am I? It's really interesting. But yes, so I had an art show in a cafe in the Amazon. You know, again, it wasn't in the jungle. It was in a city that was, you know, within the limits of the Amazon.
Right. Wow. How did
So,
you get all of your art down there?
I framed it down there. So this is like typical sort of like this is typical. So what I did was the whole show was designed to go there. So like I knew I was going to have the show 6 months, so I created work that I can ship down there, meaning I created work on paper. Create work on paper, sandwich it, ship it, or roll it, ship it. I forget what I did. But I needed it framed. Luckily, it's in the Amazon where wood is cheap as all get out. Right? Like,
Yeah.
so like I was able to frame what I would have been able to frame for the price that I framed, I think 30 pieces, what I would have paid up here for real wood frames that I put them in. I mean, I might have been able to frame 3 pieces, like, so 10 times cheaper than, you know, like, but there's no shipping and, you know, like all that kind of stuff. But again, like, you know, the labor is a lot cheaper. The materials are, you know, just out their back door, right? And they just literally just put it through, you know, and it's all like handmade stuff. Like I've never bought a handmade frame before, like in my life, and here it is, like, and you know, being in Colombia when I was getting it, like we had a deadline. We had to hang the show the day before the show opened, obviously, but I didn't get the work done until the day of. So it was like, oh, well, like now I just have to wake up early and go and do the show and stuff. But that was, you know, that's Colombia, you know, and all of that work, because it's framed and stuff, I left it to the owner. I was like, I'm just happy to have the show here. I got, you know, like I was on the news and it did well, like whatever. But all of the pieces are just still there and they won't come back because what am I going to, like, it was a great show. I have documentation of it and that's all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited that they're there and, you know, they were appreciated. And, you know, like we pack the place because they don't have art shows down there, right? And this, like in Kibdo, like nobody was going down to have an art show in Kibdo. And like there's indigenous groups down there, and that really touched me, because of course there's a lot of racism against the indigenous people, and my friends were no different, right? Like, of course. And I don't have any, and there's no you know, animosity or ill will toward them because they're racist against indigenous people, but I don't feel that way, right? Like I hurt because their culture is so gone. You know, even my friends, like they just want more American culture in their town, and I'm like, ugh, that's not a healthy thing,
Right. You don't.
right?
Yeah.
But they have the right to want that. And so,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
like,
Yeah. We have to have all it, like, as much as we can to make fully informed decisions, all the information, the data, and they don't have it. So
no. And I'm not going to be the one. I could sit down and preach to them about the ills of whatnot, but that's not what I'm here for, right? I'm here to love you as you are, and I want you to see that I also love the indigenous people, right? Like, and I want
yeah.
that to question.
Yeah. And also, don't be afraid to speak your truth. Like, there's love in boundaries. There's love in, like, if you like, okay, so if we can go spiritual on this for a bit. So love encompasses everything.
Yep.
True love, right? Like God's love, like consciousness, love encompasses everything.
Mm-hmm.
So sitting down and being preachy or talking to somebody is love.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I have no draw to do that, right? I have no heart. Like, it's not like I'm afraid to speak my truth. I love them as they are. And and when I hear, oh, like, you don't want indigenous people in your space, well, why? What is that? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can see that. And there is no, like, I'm not closing my mouth because I don't want to tell them something, right? Like, I'm not closing my mouth because I'm afraid. My mouth is open. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's not going to stop me from experiencing what I need to experience, right? And it's not going to stop me from loving those people. And it's just like, oh, I even said, when the indigenous people walked in, and I was just like, oh, that's good, right? And she was just like, no, that's not good. And I was like, oh, okay, well, why? It was just intrigue, but yeah, I hope I'm never afraid to speak my truth. Like,
yeah. Or even just educating people from a different culture, or like they're younger, people who are younger than us, immature, we carry wisdom, and part of our mission, part of our purpose is to carry that wisdom and to share it. And sometimes it means taking a risk and sharing it, whether people hear it or not, or it make you unpopular, or make them uncomfortable. Like, that's chutzpah.
Well, I don't know.
For me, that's like,
yeah,
for me, it's like, like saying, like, you don't want our culture here because this is what I know, because I've read and I've researched and whatever. I listened to a documentary, like, this is what's going to happen to the Amazon if we allow this to happen. So then you pass on that wisdom and that knowledge so that they can make more conscious decisions. And this is how we all learn. So that we share with each other. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that when it's coming from your heart. When that decision is made prior to the moment of doing it, I don't believe it's coming from a true nature. When it's made, when we, and that's just my belief, like, when we approach something and say, and give ourselves the space of being like, I can disseminate this information, right? Like, if we give ourselves that sort of power previously, and then we find ourselves in a situation where that fits the bill, I think we're preconceiving something before it happens. I think, again, for me, yes, when I have something to say, I say it.
I don't understand what you mean by preconceiving something before it happens. Can you explain that to me?
Well, when we give ourselves the permission to if we give ourselves the permission because we believe we have wisdom, so we give ourselves the permission to pass on that wisdom. And then we find ourselves in a position to do just that, and then pass on that wisdom. Is that passing on of wisdom because we're present in the moment? Or is it because we've given ourselves permission and so we're looking for an opportunity to fill that desire? So is it our desire, or is it the desire of the moment? And is it the desire of, like,
I think they can be the same thing.
okay,
Do you think they can coexist?
no. No, I don't think, I think if you have it, for me, if an idea comes up that you know better than someone else, then you will find ways to assert that. And you will, your mind will build situations in which that can be asserted onto others. So understanding that you are not wise, understanding that, like, the humbleness of, like, your existence, for me, again, is like understanding that, like, what I know as the United States, and, like, in this point with my friend, and where they are, and understanding that I love them, and again, I'm not avoiding speaking of something because of the situation. I'm speaking about it. I'm just not in a space of I'm not speaking of it in a way that in which I am an authority, because I don't know, What's that?
What if you do know?
I only know for me. I don't know for them. And if I do know for them, then I am going to speak. And that's it. Like, right? Because, like, their soul will be asking for information that my soul has, and I following my heart rather than my consciousness, which I would have created in the past, right? Like, I'm sitting at home and I go, hey, I have this great idea.
So
And
what
then
if
I go out in the world.
What if in that moment you're sitting in the jungle and you feel like, oh guys, no, you don't want that. Trust me, because I can feel like I feel so sad about what that would mean for your jungle in 2 decades.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sense?
If I'm drawn to it, I have no problem speaking it.
Yeah,
If I'm drawn to speak
I'm asking you, in that moment, did you have, or in any of those moments, did you have like, oh shoot, trust, like inside, was you like, where's your thought process? Like, oh shoot, trust me, you don't want that because this will be detrimental for your jungle, for the Amazon.
No. I mean,
But you
there,
did have the thought of, no, you guys, trust me, you guys don't want it, but you didn't say it. Is that right?
no, it wasn't.
Oh.
I didn't have a thought that said, no, you don't want that.
Oh, okay.
I had a thought of like when I said, like, oh, like, you want to be like the United States, like, when I think of the idea of, like, oh no, you don't want that, like, what I'm saying is, you do want that. You don't know you don't want that yet, right? Like you really do want that. And all the best to you in terms of getting that, like, I'm working on in a space of in a different space. And like when I went to Chile, like, the same thing. I'm driving up the side of the mountain, watching them carry the mountain away, and it's just like, oh, they have all the right in the world, and I believe that it's right to mine your resources. Now, what that's going to mean and what that's going to turn out to be is a different thing. Like you're gonna sell your land out from under you inadvertently. Like that's kind of what we did, right? We did that, and is that what they're going to do? I don't know. And I'm not, it hurt me more in Chile, but I didn't have anyone like, I mean, the person I was with in Chile, she wasn't driving the mountain away, like, I mean, we talked about that because she has a fascination with the United States as well. We talked about that. But in Chile, like, or in Colombia, when there was the racism against the indigenous people, and like the people that I was with were like, oh, yeah, we associate more with America, the United States. And I was just like, okay, I understand that, but I also question some of their actions, like, I mean, I'm not going to go through every minute of the time that I was there, but I mean, I do question some things where other things I wasn't drawn to question. Like, I was drawn to question why my friend asked his wife to salt his eggs twice, like, oh, now I will taste it. Nope, more salt. She salts it again, and then he tastes it. He goes, okay, that's good. And then I go, you could do that yourself. So when I'm drawn to say something, I definitely speak up. But when I'm not drawn to say it, and again, having a thought and being drawn to say something are two different things, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's a thing. And I mean, maybe I have answers, but I mean, I know I have mine.
Also know that your answers are in the collective as well.
Right. And they exist there without me having to speak.
And your voice is important.
Yes.
Your opinion is
right.
important. Your wisdom is important, to share.
Yeah,
it's important.
Right. And when I'm drawn to speak, I speak. And if I ever walk away from a situation going, I should have said something, I question that. Yeah.
I do too.
What's that?
I do too.
Yeah. And we all have to, right? Like we're going to, it's through that we find our value. It's through that we find our purpose. It's through that we find who we are. We're constantly trying to gain more of who we are, as God, right? Like, we're just trying to be God, like, more and more, and just step into that, like, there's no end, and again, following my heart versus what I'm hearing or what I'm being told or what I think, like if I believe my voice needs to be heard to an extent that it makes me speak up like without justification. Like, one, my voice needs to be heard. I might not listen to others. My voice needs to be heard. I might not allow others to have a voice. Like, there's, like, we see that everywhere. Like, Trump thinks his voice needs to be heard. I don't know, like there's definitely a lot of leeway in there.
Yeah, there is, for sure. You said something earlier about trying to be God. I don't feel
Not
that.
trying. There's no trying. We are. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, there's really no trying.
Yeah, there's no trying.
Do or do not. There is no try. Isn't that what you said?
I don't know.
Yeah. Do not. There is no try. That's what Yoda said in one of the movies.
Oh yeah. No, I being, we're what I meant by trying is like trying to align with self, like we're just constantly learning more about like who we are.
Yeah. The Hindus call that self-actualization.
What's that?
Hindu religion calls it self-actualization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And being, like, just strictly being and being within who we are.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the recover yourself, have the yourself, right? As part of our work. How long ago did you create that for your message and in your business, I guess?
Just 2 years maybe now. Yeah.
I can see in your poster in the back, I got the re and then cover. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the design came a year ago, I think, but like the really like I have a problem. I'm working on trying to be more marketable, more kind of so more clear about my message and what have you, so people understand what it is. Because I think it's, just like all things, I think it's complicated. I think it's difficult to really kind of get the nugget out of what I'm trying to say. And so I'm working really hard at trying to, well, what is the important aspect of what I'm talking about?
Yeah. One of the things that I learned in all of marketing that I'm doing up leveling all the time is that, and I just had this vision of looking at you, Martin, with the logo behind. I had while doing the portrait, and you revealed it to me. This vision of the wall behind you, where you do, you do your videos, your podcasts, or whatever, to have a wall of portraits behind you.
Mm.
Be really colorful. It'd be really vibrant. People would identify the consciousness coming out of the a feeling, and people want to feel. I think it would bring a lot of like color and energy and pop into what you're doing.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Because it's so you. It's you. You want people to know you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I want that. Yeah, I do want that. I want them to understand that it's a bigger thing. It's not just a shallow sort of approach.
To recover yourself, and then you have a wall of selves.
Oh, look at that. Oh, very nice. Yeah. Well, I'll I'm moving all my studio and stuff in the next week, so I
Well,
will,
there you go.
perfect timing.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So do me a favor when we get off and text me your address, and I'll put this in the mail this week.
Okay. Thank you. It's so nice to do that.
Yeah, no, I love doing them, and I love the connection that I make with people, and just being able to talk and open up and connect, because the connection is really, especially now, I kind of feel like it's really important. So
It is. Yeah, it's great. It's great that you're doing. I wonder if you could make a copy of the ones and then put them on the wall behind you.
make a what?
Make a copy.
Copy?
Copy of
Oh,
the
yeah,
ones.
I mean, I can do that, but I can just make new portraits. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
Do
like
that too.
people are people. Like they're like I can even make them up. Like
yeah, no, you really can. You could
Yeah.
think of like the demographic of people in recovery, that gravitate towards you and your work, and do portraits of them.
Well, I also do blind portraits. So I do portraits of people without ever having seen them, and I get likenesses and idiosyncrasies and stuff. And so that's something that I could just kind of like focus on somebody, just random, and do their portrait. So, yeah. So that's another thing that I do.
Mix, doing like a mix of faces, a cat and a dog for some reason.
A cat and a dog. Yeah.
Because they're all arcs of consciousness other than us.
Right.
Like, and people usually die with a more. It's also, Martin, it's the inner child.
True. And I know that we talked about my inner child today.
What did you say?
Oh, we talked about my inner child today.
Yeah. So I had my studio at the end. I would give everybody a lollipop when they left. They loved it because it wasn't for them, it was for their little child, for the inner child. It was from my little girl to their little girl, to say thank you for coming to my treehouse and thank you for playing, and they loved it.
Yeah, I still have issues with all that kind of stuff, because even in my mind when you said that, I would have been like, I wouldn't take it. I'm just like, yep, I got to work on that. Like as soon as I thought that, I was like, well, you got to work on that. What's that?
I wouldn't take the lollipop?
No, well, and that is the I don't allow my little boy that space. We talked about that. So, and that's something that I've been working on for a long time, trying to allow myself to respect the desires and needs of that little boy, because I don't. And I know that, and I know that that's something that is, I don't want to say detrimental. That's something I got to learn. That's something I
Yeah.
have to kind of get to the bottom of.
Do you, this is just off the top of my head, intuitive hit, do you feel embarrassed by him at all?
I wouldn't call it that, but I mean, I guess it could be considered that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, layers, embarrassment, there's a layer of shame in there as well. And then there could be some of it that you're carrying that's not yours. Like if you're carrying some of your mom's shame, and it's manifesting in you, and it's creating complications with your little boy, and there's an embarrassment energy in there too somewhere. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, hard to say. I mean, I look at it a lot, like I looked at it the other day. I was looking at it, and looking at a very specific moment, something came up and I was like, what is that? What does that memory have, for me, or what is that memory doing? So,
Is it a
I'm
happy memory
feeling things come up now and I don't know what those are. So I'll sit with those.
Do you do some emotional day around the feet? Is it a visual, is it an emotional flashback or a visual memory?
An emotional, well, it's a physical memory. Like, I mean, but I mean, there's, it's just it's a sliver of the whole, but it's a very specific sliver that I recall feeling around.
So it's a feeling that comes with it?
No, it's knowledge of feeling, not feeling. Like I know that I felt a certain way.
And then you allowed to express it.
And then what? Sorry.
To express it then?
Express it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any desire to do that.
So you know that when we resist something, that's exactly where we're supposed to go, right? I know that.
Yeah, okay, so not having a desire and resist are two different things for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying some of the, like you mentioned earlier, not,
right. No, and I'm well aware that I need to be able to give my little boy a lollipop, which is why when I have the thought like, oh, I don't want that, I go, oh, I still need to work on that. Like that's my first thought, right? Like,
okay, so I would say to you, is the thought yours or is it the little boy?
mine or the little boy's what?
The thought, I don't want the lollipop. Is that Martin as I see you now? Or does that come from the little boy inside you?
That comes from me now.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. So why on earth would you now not want to pop?
Well, I have my reasoning, right? Like I have my reasoning, which is all made up.
Well, tell me what's the reasoning. I'm curious.
Well, the reasoning is just like I have no desire to have a lollipop. Like I don't want to suck on a piece of sugar. Like that is nothing. There's no benefit to me, right? I'm gonna get bloated. It's gonna get me tired. There's all these things that like I'm just kind of like. So that's reasoning, right?
Right.
The other thing of taking it is just like is like this space of like, in the same vein, maybe, what value of it is, like, why is this something of value? Is it something of value to me? Like where does this fit in my life, right? Like, and like when I look and I say, okay, well, would my little boy want that? And I remember, like going to the dentist and then like going into the treasure chest you know, like the little thing you can pick stuff from and you can grab something. And, you know, like I would do that and I would take something. And I don't recall like there being any, and nothing attached to it. Like I'd have something and I wouldn't care, you know, like, oh, I got this, you know, like spider ring, like, like, or whatever, you know.
Because there's no emotion lacking around sugar, lollipop, dentist, toy. Like there's nothing around all that. Right?
There's something around that.
No, there isn't, because as you said, you checked and there's like, no, I just have a memory of going to the toy chest and taking it, where there's no, like, you don't get overwhelmed like a, oh my God, like this emotion floods back.
No, I don't have like, you know, and that's the thing, even as a boy, I mean, I don't have a lot of emotional sort of experience or like memories.
Right. So
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head when you said, what's the value of the lollipop? The value of a little boy having a lollipop. You could ask that question.
Can you repeat that? It broke up.
Yeah. So you said, you ask yourself, what's adult Martin, what's the value of having the lollipop? I don't need it. I don't want it.
Right.
So then, okay, then the second question would be, what's the value to your little boy? What's the value to your little boy if you let him have if adult Martin let little M, if adult Martin had let little M have the lollipop, what value would that give to little M?
Well, right. And I don't know. No idea. Like,
Wait, well,
like again.
Okay, so if you put your hand over your heart and try to feel him, can you feel him? Can you put yourself in his shoes?
I've tried that kind of work.
How does it go for you?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't allow myself in or what, like, you know, there is sadness and I don't know what that is.
Keep you
You
close
know,
your
and
eyes.
I don't know
Can you picture
what
him?
I can.
What does he look like?
He looks like me as a little kid. Like, what do you mean?
Is he happy? Is he smiling? Is he playing with a toy? Like, what's he got going on around him?
No, I mean, he's standing and he's got a stuffed animal. Like, that's not like me. It's just kind of like just a memory. Like, it's not a memory of like if I were just to look and see an image, it would just be a boy standing in a space holding a stuffed animal. Like,
Is he moving? Is he breathing?
no, it's just kind of standing there with it, like down by his side, it kind of draped on the floor.
Do you recognize the stuffed animal?
I don't recognize the stuffed animal, but I do recall like a Bullwinkle stuffed animal that I had that might be, right? Like, that's probably what it is.
Do you have a picture of the Bullwinkle stuffed animal?
No.
Do you have any pictures of yourself when you were that age?
Yeah. I got one not long ago because a friend of mine was trying to do this work with me and never like executed it. But
Where's the picture now?
oh, it's probably on my computer somewhere.
So how do you feel about getting that picture or print of it somehow, and print it or not, and putting it in a frame on your bedside table?
I feel like I could do that, but I have no emotion attached to it. Like, I don't have any resistance towards it. I don't have any like, yes, that's what I want.
Okay. Will you do me a favor and do it?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
And then when you do it and you place it there, see how you feel.
Okay.
That's one, it's like step one in reconnecting.
All right.
With your little boy. so that you can give him a lollipop whenever he wants, and it doesn't have, it can just be what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, again, it's just a task. I mean, that's all I see it as. It's a task. I mean,
Fine.
maybe,
That's totally fine.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. I
It
mean,
can, it can
like
totally
I
be a
said, I'm
task.
moving, so it'll be, my desk, like my work desk and my bed will be in the same room. So I'll probably just have it on my desk, and then it'll just be there all the time. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, take him with you and carry him with you into your new space.
Yeah.
And then we can baby step, see what alchemy we can create just from one little picture.
Well, sounds good. I might even have that picture. I might have put it up on a board already, but I don't know if I did or not.
Mm.
I got it because I know I had it. I had it up in my room for a while, like earlier in the year. But that got, that just, not, again, not doing much. Is that you?
There's me. Isn't it cute?
Yeah.
That was in
Yeah,
England.
that strawberry blonde hair going on back then.
I was born blonde. Yeah, that's in England.
Oh, okay.
I was about 3.
Oh.
Yeah, and then this is me in school.
Canada. This is you as a Canadian?
Yeah, in school in Canada. And then this is my youngest daughter. Look how much we look alike. This is my youngest daughter. Look at my youngest daughter.
Oh. Oh yeah, look at that.
She's cute.
She's
That's
super cute.
the one that doesn't talk to me right now. Say that. It's getting better.
This is my cat. Look how much we look alike.
Oh, he's so cute. What's your cat's name again?
Luke.
Luke. That's right.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll get that, and I can probably get that up this week, and then we'll start looking at little Marty.
Yes, yeah, little M, and yeah, just think of it as homework for now. Like, don't even just be like, okay, Rachel suggested I do this, so I'm gonna do it. And
yeah, and that's how I'm seeing it. Like, I don't like, someone asked me to get that picture and stuff, and I was like, okay. And then, like, that was like 6 or 8 months ago, and that was like, I don't want to do it. And then I did it, and I put it up or whatever, and nothing ever came of it. So other than, like, getting over all of that, and now I just kind of see it as just like, okay, well, this is a thing. I'll do it. I'm not afraid of it. Like, I think before it was more like there was resistance and stuff, but I think that's, I think I'm beyond that at this point. So we'll see how that all grows.
Good.
All right.
Exciting
Well,
stuff.
thanks.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks again for your time. And
Absolutely. And again, text me your address, and I'll shoot that in the mail this week.
I'll do that right now.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Martin.
Absolutely. You have a great day. Love you so much, and we'll be in touch again soon.
Okay.